Hopefully you have your passport already, because if you don't, it looks like it's going to be a wait. Follow along.
You're watching DC-born Rob, Racing Borders. And now, the news.
Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you're located. Thanks for watching. You're watching DC-born Rob, Racing Borders, and my name is DC Rob. This channel is dedicated to travel, number one, hence this story right here. Travel anywhere. And of course, for expats who live in Medellin, Colombia, and visitors who want to go short time to stay safe and know what's going on inside the city and country. This is going to be like a 10-minute story. I'm going to jump into it in a second, but I want to say thanks to those who have supported me for this month.
Yo, I heard she ready to go. Won't you keep the same energy after the show? Hey, yo, I heard she ready to go.
There you go. Thank you guys. Props to everybody. I really appreciate the support, man. This is how I'm able to do this in peace, because again, the video yesterday got strike. It is what it is. I'm just used to it now. I've appealed it. I checked it again today. It wasn't approved yet. Anyway, most people watch the videos in the first few hours. So if it's a day late anyway, it really doesn't matter. So I'll just leave the commercials off. But anyway, this has to do with the delay in passports for people who want to travel. You see all this crap at the airport last week? Well, check this story out. Seeking a valid U.S. passport for a 2023 trip. Buckle up, a backlog is disrupting summer travel plans. The State Department is flooded with a record-busting 500,000 passport applications per week, seeking a valid U.S. passport for that 2023 trip. Buckle up, wishful traveler, for a very different journey before you step anywhere near an airport. A much-feared backup of U.S. passport applications has smashed into a wall of government bureaucracy as worldwide travel rebounds toward record pre-pandemic levels, with too few humans to handle the load. The result, say aspiring travelers in the U.S. and around the world, is a maddening pre-travel purgatory defined, at best, by costly uncertainty. With family dreams and big money on the line, passport seekers describe a slow-motion agony of waiting, worrying, holding the line, refreshing the screen, complaining to Congress, paying extra fees and following incorrect directions. Some applicants are buying additional plane tickets to snag and process passports where they sit, in other cities, in time to make the flights they booked in the first place. So grim is the outlook that U.S. officials aren't even denying the problem or predicting when it will ease. They're blaming the epic wait times on lingering pandemic-related staffing shortages and a pause of online processing this year. That's left the passport agency flooded with a record-busting 500,000 applications a week. The deluge is on track to top last year's 22 million passports issued, the State Department says. Stories from applicants and interviews by the Associated Press depict a system of crisis management in which the agencies are prioritizing urgent cases such as applicants traveling for reasons of life or death and those whose travel is only a few days off. For everyone else, the options are few and expensive. So, 2023 traveler, if you still need a valid U.S. passport, prepare for an unplanned excursion into the nightmare zone. Plenty of time to will still be okay to big problems. It was early March when Dallas area florist Ginger Collier applied for 4 passports ahead of a family vacation at the end of June. The clerk, she said, estimated wait times at 8 to 11 weeks. They'd have their passports a month before they needed them. Plenty of time, Collier recalled thinking. Then the State Department upped the wait time for a regular passport to as much as 13 weeks. We'll still be okay, she thought. At T-minus 2 weeks to travel, this was her assessment. I can't sleep. This after months of calling, holding, pressing refresh on a website, trying her member of Congress, and stressing as the departure date loomed. Failure to obtain the family's passports would mean losing $4,000, she said, as well as the chance to meet one of her sons in Italy after a study abroad semester. My nerves are shot because I may not be able to get to him, she said. She calls the toll-free number every day, holds for as much as 90 minutes to be told, at best, that she might be able to get a required appointment at passport offices in other states. I can't afford 4 more plane tickets anywhere in the United States to get a passport when I applied in plenty of time, she said. How about they just process my passports? The American government has a culprit to blame. COVID-19. By March, concerned travelers began asking for answers and then demanding help, including from their representatives in the House and Senate, who widely reported at hearings this year that they were receiving more complaints from constituents on passport delays than any other issue. The U.S. Secretary of State had an answer of a sort. With COVID-19, the bottom basically dropped out of the system, Antony Blinken told a House subcommittee March 23rd. When demand for travel all but disappeared during the pandemic, he said the government let contractors go and reassign staff that had been dedicated to handling passports. Around the same time, the government also halted an online renewal system to make sure that we can fine-tune it and improve it, Blinken said. He said the department is hiring agents as quickly as possible, opening more appointments and trying to address the crisis in other ways. Passport applicants lit up social media groups, toll-free numbers and lawmakers' phone lines with questions, appeals for advice and cries for help. Facebook and WhatsApp groups bristled with reports of bewilderment and fury. Reddit published eye-watering diaries, some more than 1,000 words long, of application dates, deposits submitted, contacts made, time on hold, money spent, and appeals for advice. It was 1952 when a law required, for the first time, passports for every U.S. traveler abroad, even in peacetime. Now, passports are processed at centers around the country and printed at secure facilities in Washington, D.C. and Mississippi, according to the government printing office. But the number of Americans holding valid U.S. passports has grown at roughly 10% faster than the population over the past 3 decades, according to Jay Zagorski, an economist at Boston University's Questrom School of Business. After passport delays derailed his own plans to travel to London earlier this year, Zagorski found that the number of U.S. passports per American has soared from about 3 per 100 people in 1989 to nearly 46 per 100 people in 2022. Americans, it turns out, are on the move. As a society gets richer, says Zagorski, the people in that society say, I want to visit the rest of the world. For Americans and others abroad, it's no picnic either. At U.S. consulates overseas, the quest for U.S. visas and passports isn't much brighter. On a day in June, people in New Delhi could expect to wait 451 days for a visa interview, according to the website. Those in Sao Paulo could plan on waiting more than 600 days. Aspiring travelers in Mexico City were waiting about 750 days. In Bogotá, Colombia, it was 801 days. In Israel, the need is especially acute. More than 200,000 people with citizenship in both countries live in Israel. It's one appointment per person, even for newborns, who must have both parents involved in the process before traveling to the United States. Batsheva Gutterman started looking for 3 appointments immediately after she had a baby in December, with an eye toward attending a family celebration in July in Raleigh, North Carolina. Her quest for 3 passports stretched from January to June, days before travel, and it only resolved after Gutterman paid a small fee to join a WhatsApp group that alerted her to new appointments, which stay available for only a few seconds. She ultimately got 3 appointments on 3 consecutive days, bureaucracy embodied. We had to drive the entire family with 3 small children an hour and a half to Tel Aviv 3 days in a row, taking off work and school, she said. This makes me incredibly uneasy having a baby in Israel as an American citizen, knowing there is no way I can fly with that baby until we get lucky with an appointment. Recently, there appeared to be some progress. The wait for an appointment for a renewed U.S. passport stood at 360 days on June 8. On July 2nd, the wait was down to 90 days, according to the website. Frustrating tales emerged from the trenches. Back in the U.S., Marty Larson of Holiday, Utah, stood in line in Los Angeles, California on June 14th in hopes of snagging her son's passport. That way, she hoped the pair could meet the rest of their family, who had already left as scheduled for Europe for a long-planned vacation. She'd applied for her son's passport 2 months earlier and spent weeks checking for updates online or through a frustrating call system. As the mid-June vacation loomed, Larson reached out to Senator Mitt Romney's office, where one of 4 people he says is assigned full-time to passport issues were able to track down the document in New Orleans. It was supposed to be shipped to Los Angeles, where she got an appointment to retrieve it. That meant Larson had to buy new tickets for herself and her son to Los Angeles and reroute their trip from there to Rome, all on a bet that her son's passport was indeed shipped as promised. We are just waiting in this massive line of tons of people, Larson said. It's just been a nightmare. They succeeded, but not everyone has been so lucky. Miranda Richter applied in person to renew passports for herself and her husband, as well as apply a new one on February 9th for a trip with their neighbors to Croatia on June 6th. She ended up canceling, losing more than $1,000. Her timeline went like this. Passports for her husband and daughter arrived in 11 weeks, while Richter's photo was rejected. On May 4th, she sent in a new one via priority mail. Then she paid a rush fee of $79, which was never charged to her credit card. Between May 30th and June 2nd, 4 days before travel, Richter and her husband spent more than 12 hours on the national passport line while also calling their congressmen, senators, and third-party couriers. Finally, she showed up in person at the federal building in downtown Houston 30 minutes before the passport office opened. Richter said there were at least 100 people in line. His security guard asked when is my appointment, and I burst out in tears, she recalls. She couldn't get one. It didn't work. Finally, a happy ending. I just got my passports. Ginger Collier texts. She ended up showing up at the passport office in Dallas with her daughter-in-law at 6:30 a.m. and being sorted into groups and lined up against walls. Finally, they were called to a window where the agent was super nice and pulled all 4 of the family's applications, paperwork that had been sitting in the office since March 17th. More than 7 hours later, the 2 left the office with directions to pick up their passports the next day. They did with 4 days to spare. What a ridiculous process, Collier says. Nevertheless, the reunion with her son in Italy was sweet. She texted last week, "It was the best hug ever." And of course, again, let me say thanks to everybody on this list right here.
Yo, I heard she ready to go. Won't you keep the same energy after the show? Hey, yo, I heard she ready to go.
There you go. Looks like the delay is ongoing. So work out your magic as best you can. Try to get an emergency one. I think you can do that if you have plans already. I'm going to reach out to Luis and ask him that one. Thanks to O for passing me this story. You guys travel, but travel safe. If you're in Medellin and you need dental work done, from a basic cleaning to major reconstructive surgery, come see my guy, Dr. Carlos Maury. Contact information in the description below. Headed to Medellin, Colombia? See my guy Andres with Nomad Travel for safe airport pickups and drop-offs and tours. Contact information in the description below.